Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and day number 4 of getting this Model 70 John Deere Skid Steer back together. So as you know, yesterday we left off, we got the hydraulic hoses installed for the most part. I took part of the morning today to go through and divide hoses that go on the left side and hoses on the right side. I've added some additional labeling to make it a little bit easier for me. That matches up to labeling on the pump. So the pump is a pretty heavy unit. Be careful when you're putting it in. We're basically going to set it in place and just put some of the hardware in hand tight for right now, and I'll explain why when we get to that. Alright, let's just slide this in here for now. Kind of set it in place roughly where it needs to go. Now there's 4 bolts that hold this pump in place. There's one that goes across the front here. We'll go ahead and just put this on hand tight for right now. And there's 3 that go across the back. The middle one and the left hand one, we're just going to slide the bolts through right now, because this filter housing basically bolts up underneath there. Actually it goes this way. And I still got to get in there to tighten up some hoses, so we'll leave this off for right now. So as you can see, even with the 3 bolts in the back and the one in the front, this motor can slide left and right and it can kind of go front and back. I got the front adjustment here kind of tightened up, but that's so that you can get this pump aligned with the engine, or the engine aligned to the pump, whatever you need to do to make sure that we have good horizontal and vertical offset and angularity. So basically what offset and angularity are if you have 2 shafts that are going to be connected together with a coupling of sorts. This one has a dual chain Lovejoy type coupling, right? So one of the chain gears is on the pump shaft and the other one's on the motor shaft, and then there's a dual roller chain that connects them together. So first off is offset. So you have your vertical offset, which is up and down from each other, straight up and down, looking at a clock like 6 to 12. And then you have your horizontal offset, which would be your 3 to 9, and that's your left and right, moving straight. That's offset. Then you have angularity. So you have your vertical angularity, that's up and down at an angle, and then your horizontal angularity, which would be to the left and right. So basically you're covering the whole cone sweep of angular alignment to these things, because if the motor or the pump are either offset or out of alignment with their angle, then it's going to cause excess stress and wear on bearings, pumps, seals, all that, and it's going to make the machine work a lot harder. So being as this pump is in place now, we can hook up hoses, but we're not going to tighten up those foundation bolts so that it can be moved later to align to the engine. And there's slots back there to move the engine as well, so we'll just kind of get them pretty much how they need to be is what I'm trying to say. So let's start hooking up some hoses. I won't bore you with too much of this, I'll kind of speed through, but at this point we're basically just going to hook up the hoses that are in place to the appropriate fittings. There are some fittings on here that the hoses aren't there yet. We don't want to add anything else to this mix yet until we get what we have in here finished. So remember, there's still some drive motor fittings here that I haven't tightened up yet, and I need to try to maintain as much accessibility as I can in order to get those tightened up. So basically we'll just go through one for one, get them attached to their appropriate fittings, and then we can start adding more as we go. Alright, so that takes care of all those hoses, except for number 15 here, which routes up between here and to one of the other filter assemblies. I've gone back through at this point now, and I've rechecked every fitting on both sides of the hoses, whether it be to the drive pumps, the drive motors, the aux lift valves, the T-fittings, everything. Everything at this point is tight, so from here forward, anytime we install a hose, we'll tighten both ends of it, and that should hopefully, fingers crossed, alleviate any leaks down the line. That was my knee. So I think at this point you get the gist of how this works. Hose 9 goes to hose 9, hose 8 goes to fitting 8, yada yada yada. So with the intent of trying to keep you engaged in this video, I'm just going to skip through me installing the rest of these hoses, because again, like your project and mine are completely different. If you happen to be working on a 70 and you need to know where a hose goes, shoot me an email, I'll send you some pictures and I'll let you know where it goes. So I'm going to finish getting these hoses put in and filter assemblies, and then we'll get to the point where we start kind of building this seat frame back up and the steering T and adjusting and hooking up linkages.
3 days later.
So I started having a little too much fun and got a whole bunch of stuff knocked out. I think I'm pretty much done for what I need to do with this in here in the garage. I have every single hydraulic hose hooked up. I verified both sides are tight. The only hoses that are still open are these two up here, which connect to the hard lines that run down the right arm of the loader boom. And then there's 2 hoses here and 2 on the left side, and those are what hook up to the main hydraulic lift arms for the boom. So we'll get those hooked up when we put the loader arms on. That'll be on the side of the house, and then again, once we roll this over to the other side, we'll put the drive chains in on both chain cases, and we'll button up those 2 covers. And that's pretty much it for the skid steer. I ended up putting up all the T-handle for steering, the foot controls, the linkages, everything's somewhat adjusted to where I think it needs to be. The only panels that are left over here are the bottom skid plate, which I'll put on last, because when we run this thing, if there's any leaks or drips, I want to see them and where they're coming from. Once I know there's no leaks, we'll put the skid plate on, not a big deal. There's a heat shield that covers the engine and goes behind the seat, but I want to wait to put that in until after we get the engine in, because, well, it's just going to be in my way. The only other thing that's left over there is the seat belts and this dash section. And the dash, it's 4 bolts that hold it on, but I'm still waiting on all my new gauges to come in. So with that being said, I think we've successfully put this back together, everything we need to do in here. You'll see this video on Tuesday this week. I've been doing daily uploads while we're getting this stuff done. So you'll see this on Tuesday, and then Wednesday is going to be the retro restoration. So being in the spirit that we're working on this skid steer, the retro restoration video this week is going to be my Case 1816C that I restored about 2 years ago. That thing was a complete train wreck. The engine had the piston through the engine. I had to do the same thing with this, go through all of the rat nest of hydraulic hoses, paint, tires, chains, and I even did an engine swap. So I'm not going to tell you about that. I'll let you watch the video and see that tomorrow. But then I'll be back Thursday, and hopefully we'll have this thing on the side of the house. We'll get chains on, and we'll start getting this engine tore apart. Now, I'm not rebuilding this engine. There's nothing wrong with it. It runs fine. It doesn't burn any oil. It did have a small head gasket leak, so we're going to replace all the gaskets on the engine, including the head gaskets, plugs, wires, coil, fuel pump, all that kind of stuff. And of course we'll paint it up, make it look really nice. So I think we're on track to possibly having this thing running maybe this weekend, if not early next week. I still have to go and get all the fluids and everything, and I think that's it. Some wiring, some hoses, and decals. Decals will be last. That's my favorite part. That'll be after we get it driving. I'll move it out here, do a good soap down, pressure wash to get all this pollen off finally. But yeah, it's been fun. We got a lot done today, and I'm pretty happy with how it's all turned out. So hopefully you're enjoying this little series, and I appreciate you watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would appreciate it. And if you have, well, thank you. And I think I forgot to show you what everything looked like. I had recorded a few and deleted some and forgot what I had. So here's the seat up with all the hoses and filters and everything. And do a quick little walk around here. Sorry about the shadows. Foot pedals, steering, T-bar. Not too shabby. All right, now we're out.